Hello and welcome back to Yorkshire Railway and welcome back to another model railway review. Today we're going to be unboxing this Hornby steam locomotive, which is the Hornby K1 in the late BR livery. So yeah, really nice to have a steam locomotive back on the tracks once again. So without further ado, I think we'll take it out the box and we'll have a closer look at the locomotive in greater detail. So again, Hornby box art, really classic as always, but it is great to see the locomotive in person. And if you want to get one of these for yourself, it is Hornby R3410 BR Late 260 Class K1 locomotive 62065. And I actually got this off of Amazon, however I know that you can quite easily pick some of these up off of eBay secondhand for quite a decent price, as well as they still are available at the retailers as well, so worth shopping around to see if you can find yourself a bargain. So just pulling this out, a little bit of a tight squeeze this one, but nice to see the Hornby are still using the block of ice. I do think this is one of the superior packagings. Certainly does help with a lot of steam locomotives. And we've got the usual Hornby instruction booklet, so usual just general maintenance and assembly. We've got close coupling, body removal, DCC ready, accessories. So yeah, usual bits and bobs from Hornby, but nice to see them including all that in their booklet. So we'll pop this away and we'll take a look at what everybody's actually come to look at, which is the locomotive. So as I say, it's in the block of ice packaging. Really nice to see this. And I'll just slide the locomotive out. We've got an accessories bag on the top, so we'll take a look at that first. So in here we have what looks to be brake rigging, a NEM coupling as well, so I imagine that is for the front, as well as we've got some valve gear and some pipes as well to fit. So yeah, nice little accessory bag, not too much in there, but certainly is a few more delicate parts in there. So yeah, have to fit that at some point. And then I'll just undo the clip at the back and we'll take a look at the locomotive now. So yeah, quite a light locomotive. I'll just grab it in a better position so you can take a greater look. But yeah, looks absolutely incredible. Certainly a nice finish, really light tender. That's certainly one thing to notice. There's not a lot of weight in that tender. All the weight is generally coming from the locomotive itself. But yeah, we've got really nice lining on the frame as well as around the boiler. I am noticing the running plate is plastic and there looks to be a little bit of a warp on there as well, so not tremendous quality from Hornby. I think if that was a die-cast running plate, that wouldn't be warping too much. I mean, it's not that noticeable, but certainly you can see that just little up flick on there as well. And we've got the shed code on the front, as well as some lamps on the buffer beams, as well as nice to see metal buffers, and they are sprung as well as a screw link coupling. But yeah, back to the running plate. I think if that was die cast, definitely there would be a better weight to this locomotive. It is quite light, and that certainly is noticeable, and I wonder if that's going to impact the pulling capability of the locomotive. Certainly has a die-cast chassis, but I think if the running plate was die-cast, that would definitely add a bit of weight. But yeah, great whistles and valve gear on there as well. They look really nice in the actual metal. And the cab, wow, I mean, that is absolutely fantastic detail. I'm just trying to get it in shot for you so that you can see it. But yeah, we've got lots of separately, I don't know whether they're all separately fitted, but looks to be a couple of separately fitted parts, as well as everything is absolutely painted in there. Bit of a shame we obviously don't have a flickering firebox, but maybe that will come in an upgraded tooling. And quite a nice realistic coal load in the tender as well. And I've got to say, I do love the lining on the tender as well. That looks really great. We've got a few parts on the back of the tender as well, valves and steps. So yeah, really nice. So let's get her down on the track. There we go, the mighty K1 on the track. Yeah, it's looking absolutely fantastic, I think. I think the trouble with BOR Black is it can look a bit plasticky, and I will say I think the boiler is a little bit on the plasticky side. The tender finish, I don't know why, seems a lot better, and the cab, it's just the actual boiler itself does look a bit on the plasticky side. But criticisms away. Let's see how she starts up. While she runs, that's probably the best I'm going to get in terms of a crawl. Yes, it can run well at slow speeds, although let me just I'll just shut up a minute. Let me let you listen to this. I know, it does sound very eerie still. Yeah. I don't know, maybe it always sounded like this. I'll be honest, when I got it, I never really paid that much attention to it. But yeah, my only sort of criticisms other than that gearing sound is it does appear very weak. Certainly, you know, it's not going to be struggling to pull many loads, but it's quite a light locomotive. So yeah, I think it will struggle with a high rake of coaches. But yeah, we'll hook it up now, and we'll see how it performs. So there we go, I've got the K1 attached to a rake of 3 Pullman coaches from Northern Bell. These actually belong to my great granddad. So yeah, it's nice to have them still in the family. But yeah, I don't think it should struggle carrying these coaches around. Certainly looks a nice like locomotive, ready to pull them. So let's give her some juice and we'll let her depart. So there we go, I mean, at 30% speed, I wouldn't say the locomotive's struggling, but I definitely probably won't be hooking it up to any other coaches. I honestly think it could probably take 1 or 2 more. You know, it just doesn't particularly seem very powerful. I dread to think, you know, if you were to put a real coal load in the tender and add a bit of weight to that tender, God almighty, I think the motor will actually struggle. So yeah, I think the mechanism on this one is great. It certainly is. a harsh one to compete with, really. It's just not very. Okay, so time for everybody's favourite part, which is the ratings. So this is for the Hornby BRK1, and performance-wise, I've awarded it 3 stars. I certainly think it could be a little bit better. Not really sure if it is my locomotive in particular, but certainly isn't going to be a hefty puller. I wouldn't really want to put too many coaches on it. It does seem a little bit light, and it's a shame about the slow speeds. It's great and smooth running at a running speed, but just in the slow performance, it just seems a little bit coggy and a little bit unwilling to crawl. I don't know whether that can be fixed with digital. Probably will be able to, but certainly on analog, which is what I'm running, this is what I found, that it just doesn't really like slow speeds. It just prefers running at a nice speed. So certainly if you like watching trains just running around and you're not really bothered about, crawling into stations or gently setting off or anything like that, I think this locomotive will be absolutely fine for you. Detail wise, I've awarded it 4-star. Certainly has a lot of great detail on there. We've got the lamps, the whistles and everything on top are really nicely detailed. The lining especially is fantastic, and inside the cab, which I know isn't one of those parts that you'll be looking in there all the time, but I do have to say that is an absolutely fantastic cabin there. As I say, it is just a little bit shame there isn't a flickering firebox, but can't have everything in this world, especially for the price as well. Livery, I've awarded it 3.5 stars, and that mainly is because I said, BR Black is a little bit hard to get right, and I don't know what it is, but the cab and the running plate and the tender look absolutely fine, but I don't know why I'm mine, and I don't know if it's picking it up on the camera, but the boiler just looks really, really different. Like, you can see a noticeable difference between the two, and it's very subtle, but it's that noticeable that it's sort of a little bit off-putting, and it just looks a lot more plasticky than the cab does, even though I know the cab's made of plastic. But I don't know if it's the paint or just because of the way that the light hits the cab. I'm not really sure. The light hits the boiler, but I don't know. It's really off-putting. It just looks a little bit plasticky for me. So yeah, that's why I've awarded delivery 3.5 stars. I think certainly it maybe needs looking into a better paint to basically make it all more uniform. I don't know whether like a glossy paint might make that look a little bit less plasticky and a bit more metal. Not really sure, but usually the Hornby paint is great, the satin sort of finish that they have on it. But I don't know, it just doesn't seem to work on the K1. Quality wise, again, I've given it 3.5 stars, mainly just down to, you've got the performance as well as obviously the overall quality of the locomotive. So that is for like the materials and everything that's used to build it. We've already gone through the performance as to why that isn't 100%, but in terms of obviously the running plate is made of plastic instead of a die-cast running plate, so it is slightly warped, and you can see that in this picture. It sort of just gently flicks up at the end. So yeah, that is a bit of a shame. I think definitely a die-cast running plate would add a little bit of weight to that. So if it added a bit more weight to the locomotive, that would be a lot better as well, because it probably would be able to have a little bit more heft. But whether the mechanism will be able to cope with that, I'm not really too sure. But yeah, quality-wise, it's getting 3.5. And value, I haven't actually said in this whole video how much I actually paid for this locomotive. So I purchased this just sort of after I got back into the hobby. So I got back into the hobby in 2020, and I purchased this in 2021 off of Amazon, just because I do my every now and again browsing, and I wasn't 100% clued up on different retailers. Probably should have done a bit more research, but I definitely do shop around from retailers now than I do Amazon, which, you know, I'm guilty as anybody for shopping on Amazon, but certainly I've generally stopped buying models unless they are at the right price from Amazon. But I paid £110 for this. Certainly I know it has been a lot cheaper in the past, but I think by today's standards, really, it's not a bad price for a locomotive, especially a tender locomotive. You generally expect to pay quite a lot more. And in today's modern standards, I've done a little bit of research into editing this video, and I've seen it at a few retailers at about 140 to 155 pounds. So still not a massive markup by today's standards, but if you're wanting to go for a second-hand one, I've seen a lot on eBay, and they are going for like 85 to sort of £70. So I don't think that's quite bad. You know, if you want to take a chance on a second-hand model, you might get yourself a real bargain. And I definitely say around the sort of second-hand prices, they are certainly really, really good. You know, if you get a good performance locomotive from that, I don't think really you'll be disappointed with it. You know, it's quite a cheap price to pay, especially if you're looking for a nice passenger locomotive, or because they are a mixed passenger and freight locomotive. So if you're just looking for something to do a bit of everything on your layout, I think the K1 might suit your layout and your needs as well. I definitely can endorse it in that recommendation. It's just got to be the right price. I certainly won't be paying up to £150 for this locomotive. I definitely would shop around and try and find it a little bit cheaper. And that's why we get to the overall rating of 3.8 stars. Now, I was a bit surprised by this. I thought, coming into this video, I thought that it was going to be a little bit higher in the ratings. But having a closer look, and I'm certainly trying to be a bit more strict on my ratings, to not actually hit 4 stars, because I thought, giving the value 5 stars, I thought, oh yeah, that'll bump it up a little bit, and the details got 4 stars. But yeah, it's not even hit 4 stars, so take that as you wish. As I say, you know, it is a definitely a brilliant value locomotive, but I just think there are aspects that could be better, and I think certainly that will be improved in maybe a future tooling of this, provided that they do a lot of retooling and maybe upgrade the mechanism in this. But that's not to say, even in a future tooling, you know, they could certainly upgrade a few features on this. I think, you know, definitely I think maybe the mechanism does need upgrading, but even if they use the same mechanism, maybe even having a die-cast running plate and a flickering firebox, I think that would be enough to me to make this locomotive a little bit more pushed towards the 150 mark, even 160, but you know, I'd definitely say 150. I think that could be pushed if it had these features on it. But who knows, you know, Hornby works in a mysterious way, and we might find that come next year the K1 will be re-released with a brand new tooling, and all these problems will go away. But, you know, as I say, I definitely would recommend this locomotive for people that like just running locomotives. It is definitely a perfect locomotive for that. Certainly a very nice smooth runner. I don't think you'll have a problem with that. It's at a speed, it's not noisy at all. It just seems to be a bit noisy at lower speeds. So yeah, I definitely say at a running speed, it is a very smooth, quiet runner. But yeah, it's not really going to be winning many awards for its pulling power. But anyway, that is everything from me today, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and leave a comment. And let me know your thoughts on the K1. As well as don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is free to do so. So it would massively help me out if you did. And I hope to see you in the next video. So take care everyone, and I will catch you later.